All right, we're live. Hello, fellow comic book worms. This is Naman. Welcome to my channel. We have a special guest today, and Otaku Han is gonna introduce her. Otaku Han, introduce her for us.
Yeah, as part of our ongoing series for Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month, we have a very special guest joining us today from the great state of Hawaii.
Hawaii.
Yes, and I'm just gonna allow Lynne Yoshii to introduce herself, talk about her Asian heritage, and kind of describe who she is as a person, a creator in the industry.
Okay. Hi, my name is Lynne Yoshii. I was born and raised in Hawaii. I'm a Nisei, which is a Japanese first second generation
He's
child. Yeah. So Nisei, and also I guess like if you're in Japan, I'll be called Nikkei because I was born and raised in America, but I'm fully Japanese.
Mm.
So so I was born and raised in Hawaii. Eventually, I moved to New York to attend the School of Visual Arts. To earn my degree, bachelor's degree in cartooning. SC was one of the few schools that did offer that. So right now I'm in Hawaii visiting my family, but I usually uh, sort of located in New York, doing my work as a comic book artist. As far as comics goes, yes, I'm a comic book artist who's worked for DC, Marvel, Dark Horse, Boom Studios, and various other things, doing comic work and covers. Let's see. So most recently, I have done something for Marvel Voices for their AAPI, heritage, comic. I was lucky enough to do one for 2021, yeah,
Oh, really?
2021
Cool,
and
cool.
2023 this year. So I'm very happy about that.
Awesome.
That's
Awesome.
awesome.
Very
Yeah,
Mhm.
appropriate for this show then.
Yeah. I'm
and
also
and
doing some, yeah. Oh, sorry.
Go
oh, go
ahead, go ahead.
ahead.
Oh, yeah. So I'm also doing something for the House of Slay, which is for the Einhorn Group. And I don't know if you're familiar with the House of Slay, but it was basically a comic series that was created by um, a group of fashion designers. And I don't, sorry, I can't remember the name. But yeah, so that's also like a Asian, Asian American sort of centric kind of superhero comic web
Hmm.
series that they're doing. So I also just it just came out actually on webtoons and not webtoons and I forgot what the other one was. Like it's on two platforms. Sorry, is it Topako?
Is it something I
Yeah,
could do search on?
yeah. So it's House of Slay, and that just came out. Like the first
House
chapter came
of
out
House
House of
of
Slay,
last week. Yeah,
Slate.
yeah.
S
House of
L A
Slay.
Y,
Yeah, yeah.
SLAY. You know.
It's
Hmm.
okay. Slay. Okay, House of Slay.
Yeah.
So I'm very interested in sort of your path to comic books.
Ooh.
Um, it because you living in Hawaii and your parents being from Japan. I'm sure you had a lot of exposure to
Ooh.
manga and anime growing up. Can you talk about your sort of cultural connection to
Sure.
your motherland?
Yeah. So, well, because I was born here and my parents wanted me to, learn Japanese, they indulged me quite a bit when it came to buying comics at the Japanese bookstore. So, I don't think they expected me to actually become a comic artist. They just wanted me to learn the language. But yeah, I was like a voracious reader as a child, so they indulged me in that regard. And as far as like if, growing up in the 80s, 90s, in Hawaii especially, I guess I got a little bit more Japanese, anime manga stuff than say maybe a kid from the mainland would because like there's just such a large Asian population in Hawaii.
Mm.
So I was like watching Dragon Ball and probably should not have been watching Fist of the North Star.
Because of the violence, yeah.
Yeah. That like I mean I look at it now, sure the head explosions, they're all in silhouette. It's all good. It's not it doesn't traumatize any kid. No, no. But yeah, it was like I got to watch those stuff, in like the original Japanese while I was growing up. So I was like very lucky in that respect. So yeah, I grew up reading a lot of manga when I was small, and I actually didn't discover American comics until I was a teen when the whole Batman animated and X-Men came out. And I was like, oh, there's like a whole nother other, because I wanted to become a comic book artist even at the age of 7, but that was for manga. I wanted to be a manga artist. But it's pretty difficult to become a manga artist in Japan, especially if you're living in a different country. And although I'm pretty fluent in Japanese compared to like most, because I was very lucky to have the opportunity to learn Japanese through Japanese school. So I could read and write and speak it. But like, yeah, a lot of kids, and this is like being able to speak a second language, I have realized is such a privilege to be able to have that, to, just to be even to read in a different language. It's like such a gift. But yeah, because I have a lot of friends who are, not just Asian American, but from, different backgrounds. And it really is just chance to get, to get the opportunity to learn, like to be bilingual or trilingual, stuff like that. It depends on your family situation. And I was very lucky. I was able to go to Japanese school. My parents paid for Japanese school.
That's awesome.
Although I don't think, I don't think they wanted me to go into comics.
As a first generation, the parents, I'm sure that's, I definitely had a no way, son.
Yeah, we're both the products of Tiger Moms, right? Right, Hal?
Yeah. Engineer? No, not engineer. Lawyer or doctor degree. That's it.
Well, my teachers, my mom said like, well, you like books. Why don't you become a librarian? It's like this. I said, no, that's not.
So did you have any like formal art instruction? Did your parents kind of nurture you?
No.
Okay.
No.
So it was just kind of like looking at comic books and copying what you saw?
Yeah, pretty much. Like the only like extra education I got was Japanese school, abacus school, and Kumon.
Come on. Come on.
So you're a math genius along with being an art genius.
I am not a math genius. Oh God, I really, really did not. My sister's a math genius. Like she says things like, "Don't you understand the joy of math?" And I was like, "The joy of math? Like joy of math?"
You could do math on the images.
No.
There's a lot of perspective here.
But yeah, I do not fit the math stereotype of Japanese. Like I could do multiplication pretty fast. That's about it. But yeah, I forgot my train of thought where I was going.
Well, we're looking at your work now.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's absolutely stunning. A lot of the work that you're doing in comic books. Can you talk to your influences, whether they're Asian or whomever, people that have influenced how you approach art or maybe your style?
Yeah. So yeah, as you can imagine, because I read 2 countries worth of comics, I have a very broad range of influences. Some that you can't even see, and some that I didn't even notice until other people pointed out, which was like kind of surprising. Let's go to the American influences. So the biggest American influence is like Jim Lee, because 90s. Jim Lee, Frank Miller is also like a big one. I like, oddly enough, I like his art, but the stories are really depressing, so I couldn't read it once.
I can see that.
The Dark Knight is wonderful. I'm only reading this once. It's too
I'm
depressing.
all about art. I'm all about enjoying the art, not about stories.
Yeah. Who else? Like, let me just try to remember. as far as storytelling goes, I love Alan Moore's Watchmen.
Oh yeah.
It's not so much like the influences I get isn't just like from like the art styles, but even how they tell stories. So Frank Quietly, I just love his like how he tells his story. It's pretty amazing. Like his sequential work too. Who else? I'm trying to like back. Yeah. Well, you know what? Let's move to Japanese ones. There's like too many to like to square down. Like I'll probably need like an hour in a notepad to write down all my influences. As for Japanese influences, I was like very much into Dragon Ball. Again, that's not so much as a stylistic thing, but his storytelling skills. I believe that Akira Toriyama is like probably the best action comic wise. Like his stuff is like so clear, and I want to kind of, that's my goal, to make very clear fight scenes that that's fight scenes are hard. Let's see. Rama was like a big influence for me. So Takahashi Rumiko, I was like big. If I used to draw exactly, if there was a manga artist that I used to like copy over and over again, that was like Takahashi Rumiko.
Sleepy asked if the painters influenced you.
The painters? Not okay. You might not Pat Nagel for audio, and there's no like you can say where I don't see anything of Pat Nagel in there, but there's maybe you could see a little bit. That 80s like very flat artist thing, and I was like, that's not anything painterly at all, but I really liked the graphic look of how he did women. So Pat Nagel was a big influence. As far as like just basically for the painting, it's like basically almost every anime that's out there has been my influence.
Yeah.
You know, so like if I see like, oh, that's a cool anime, and I'll like try to copy that page. That I'm not actually that confident as a painter, because I tend to do everything in black and white and then color over it. So when I see artists who kind of like go straight to color, it's like, oh, I can't do that. I have to do my black and white values first, and once I get that down, then I put down my color. So
wow, this is this is just incredible work that we're looking at here.
Thank you.
I love that.
You know, you talked about sort of being influenced by these two really incredible comic cultures, and they're very distinct. They're very distinct. So, because you work in the more Western medium, where would you say, where do you kind of bridge that gap, or do you bridge the gap? I mean, how would you describe your work in terms of having that manga influence come and be featured in whatever you're working on here through DC Comics or Marvel Comics or whatever that may be?
Yeah, it was a little, so like during the aughts, I guess in the early 2000s, when I was like just graduated from art school and I'm looking for work and stuff like that, I definitely got portfolio reviews and such saying that kind of label my stuff as anime. And although like the nerd in me was like, actually it's not anime, it's manga, but yeah, they'll say that it definitely had a manga influence. But oddly enough, I would show my stuff to people like comic artists or comic people in Japan, and they'll say, oh, your stuff is very amikomi. So it's like whatever label they put, like, I'm hoping, and I can't tell myself, I'm hoping it's an equal blend of both, of both American and Japanese stuff. But depending on the person, it's like they'll just label it as manga, and like another person will like label it as amekomi. So
I have to ask because is this in a comic book cover somewhere?
No, that was a commission. One of my
covers.
Yeah, well, one of my clients, regular, who's a regular, he has like really great ideas for commissions, and he's just like, I want Catwoman, but in that in her recent wedding dress, but I want Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn to be her bridesmaid. Can you do a commission for me that way? It's like, oh, okay.
I love that. I love
Wow,
that.
yeah.
Of
Love
course,
the
the
cats
blueprint
there
will give us
too.
the biggest diamond possible, right? I mean,
Yeah, it's just that, and she's wearing a big ass diamond. Like the diamond's still going to be kind of tiny on her hand, but I'll make it try to make it as big as possible.
I mean, I'm gonna go to Instagram page here. Oh, wait, is it illustrations? Oh, you say it's sequential.
Yeah, that's my sequential. That is one of my very okay. So I am not. Are you familiar with the DC? What was it called? DC Talent Search. So it was like,
Okay.
yeah. So in 2015-16, they started DC Artist Workshop and DC's Writers Workshop, and
CJ.
the 2016 one was sort of like an open. Not an audition, competition. Yeah, a competition. It was a World War competition, and basically you were supposed to submit a few pages of your work, and like half a dozen people, more than maybe like 8 people were chosen for the artist workshop, and I think a dozen people were chosen for the writers workshop for the 2016. So I was very lucky to be able to attend the DC's artist workshop, and those pages were so you could choose any of these scripts. To like, this was actually paid work, and this is sort of like a test thing that they gave me, and so I chose Greg Rucka's Wonder Woman run, of course, right?
Yeah.
So he's like, I was so nervous when I was drawing this. Like, I think I was holding the pencil so tight when I was trying, and my hands started to hurt.
You actually had to do it in front of people?
No. This is like, it was like a regular deadline where they gave me like, this is a deadline, here's a script, finish this entire issue. Which was like very nice of them to do for like, because it was a fully paid gig, but like it was technically the first paid gig from DC Comics. So I was like, I have to make this perfect.
Wow.
And this earned you more work on this title?
Yes, I hope so. I think I did. But yeah, so I got a few more works from a little bit more work from DC. After that, I was able to do Gotham City Garage. Like but 2 stories worth of that one. The Gotham City Garage one is in there. I really need to update my website because there's nothing recent in here. Is there anything? I think the most recent one's like from 2017, 2018. But yeah, so I did for DC Comics, I did Gotham City Garage. I also did the DC Talent Showcase. That kind of came with the artist program, so I got to do a Suicide Squad story for that one. I think you'll see a few pages from that one in my portfolio. But also I was able to do the DC Pride, which was that was last year, and that was, I think, nominated for a GLAAD award. So yay everybody to the anthology. The anthology is very good. So if you have like a chance, I would recommend checking out the DC Pride 2022. I'm getting really bad at keeping track of time. 2020. No, 2022. 2022 DC Pride, and even the previous one was also very good too. So 2021. Yeah, that's from Gotham City Garage, and that is supposed to be an alternate version of Lois Lane, where she's covered in tattoos, which, mind you,
wow,
is a pain to draw.
Oh.
To keep consistent, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wow, okay.
That's awesome. So yeah, I mean, did you have an opportunity to like meet Jim Lee? And
yes,
cool.
briefly. So oddly enough, like he was supposed to be. We got to meet him at a dinner once, and he was supposed to, I think, sort of participate in the program, but he got sick, so I only met him the one time. Unfortunately, and he became ill. So the DC Artist Workshop was headed by Andy Kubert and Klaus Janson, who are like, they're both known, like not just, other than being, professional comic artists that's very known in the field. They're also very like known to be really good teachers in the comic industry. Like Klaus, teaches at School of Visual Arts. He was my teacher when I was in college. And Andy Kubert, of course, Kubert School. So.
Yeah.
Wow. Just wow.
You see the lineage there, just in terms of the teaching and just the next generation of people that kind of carry on their
See,
legacies.
I got to utilize my, Japanese language abilities by putting an exit.
Oh, nice. And that kanji looks, spot on. And oftentimes you see the kanji and it's
like
not.
messed up a little bit, right? And that really irks you, doesn't it?
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, let's talk about what some of the. I know we connected during Emerald City Comic Con, and you were there in Artist Alley featuring your work. Can you just talk about kind of the projects that you're working on? What are you involved with? What are some of the things on the horizon?
Okay. I do have I wonder if I could talk about it. I'm in the negotiations to start another project right now, but I haven't even signed the contract yet, so I have absolutely no idea if we can even talk about it or not. But it is actually, yeah. I'll be working with John Sui, who is a writer.
We revealed it first.
But yeah, I won't say anymore. I'll just say the publisher and the writer that I'm working with, like John Sui, and I'll be working with Val Comics on
Nice.
taking over a series. Still in negotiations with that, so I don't really have much details to reveal on that part. That's the only thing that's really going on right now, and that will be a very long-term project, so I don't have anything else lined up other than that. Then I'll be doing a whole bunch of other conventions too this year. Well, most very, very likely Con I'll be going to, and Anime NYC hopefully. So there'll be 2 conventions I'm going to. So, but yeah, the Marvel Voices for this year is the project I just finished under much pressure.
When
so
is it New York Con again?
When is New York Comic Con? Or
When you say you're going to New York Anime Con?
Oh yeah, so NYCC. I'm very, very most likely to be going to NYCC and Anime NYC, which I applied for it, but they haven't really released their acceptance. Okay. So we'll see. I was able to be in Anime NYC previously, so hopefully I can get in again. And your Comic Con, I'm pretty much there annually. So
yeah.
Any con toward the East Coast? Besides that?
East Coast. So Hawaii used to have the amazing Hawaii Con. I have no idea what happened to that after the pandemic. I will have to find out about that, I guess. And if I can, I would like to go to Emerald City Comic Con again. But I think those are the only 2 West Coast cons that I attend on a regular basis. The others were kind of time-wise, kind of a little bit weird, so I couldn't, go. So yeah, Emerald City Comic Con, and who knows if there's another Hawaii comic convention, I'll probably try to go to that one. But so far, I have no idea regarding that respect. Yeah.
Now, we had David Nakayama on last year during May.
Yes.
And he's also, from Hawaii, and he lives there actually.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah. Do you have a relationship with him or?
No, I mean we've. Oddly enough, there was who was it? I think it was Peter Nguyen. Yeah, Peter Nguyen, and I think we met at Amazing Hawaii Con, and he's just oh, you're from Hawaii too? So you grew up in Hawaii too? So yeah, and so me too. And there's David too. So it's oh, we're the Hawaii group. So we kind of so we took a picture, and that's about we just usually just say hi at conventions because it's sort of we cross paths quite a few times. But that was probably that's about it. I don't really get to. Oddly enough, you don't really get to talk to a lot of other creators while you're at conventions as much as I would like to, just because we're all going running around or sitting down just drawing furiously the whole time. But yeah, just to like
Get 5 of you together and call it Hawaii 5-0.
yeah. Oh, find two more other Hawaii artists. Let Sam Sakai be the head of it all.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people are curious because a lot of people visit Hawaii and they enjoy, that spot as a vacation spot. But can you talk to what it was like growing up there? Because you're talking about a place that's so diverse, especially with, within the Japanese community. There's such a strong Japanese presence. Did you grow up in Honolulu? What part of Hawaii did you grow up in?
So I grew up on the island of Oahu, which is like where Honolulu, Diamond Head, Waikiki Beach, so it's like considered more an urban city area compared to the other islands. So a lot more opportunities, thankfully. Like we said, I think like when I was growing up, we could both I think we have like 4 comic book shots on the island or something like that. Or like the other islands, like, oh, we only have the one, or it's like we don't have any. Like, oh, so and like forget like Japanese bookstores or things like that. Like, this is only like locals will only know this. Familiar with Shirokiya? No. Oh, okay, it's a Japanese like department store / marketplace, and like if you're Japanese, like just having that store was like, oh, you're so lucky to be able to go to Shirokiya because we don't even have that here. It's like if you're in the other islands, so it's like, oh.
So it's like a department store.
It was while growing up. Now there's more stores now. So, but while we were growing up, there were like, very little like things like even just like getting Japanese foodstuffs was like hard, mind you, like, just getting Japanese media in general was hard. You go to like a video store and there's like maybe like 12 animes and like just in the video store and that's it. And then like, about like 1/3 of them are like no videos. I said, what is that? So, oh, you don't borrow that one. Like, oh, why? I just, tentacle porn. Like, what do you mean tentacle porn? I said, don't watch those. Like, oh, okay.
Tricky Chapter asks, who is your favorite character to work on professionally?
Oh, professionally? Wonder Woman, I guess. That was really fun to draw. Yeah. Oh God, I wish I could do a Wonder Woman series. That would be so cool. Like that's like a bucket list kind of thing. I would love to do a Wonder Woman. I was able to do a Wonder Woman story for DC, but it was like what do you call those? Like stories that you have on hand, but it never gets published. So like a backup.
Okay.
A backup story. So I did a backup story, but it never got published. So unfortunately, like, oh well, that happens.
Do you have a print of that in your hand, or?
I have like on my computer.
Okay.
But like it's one of those things that wait. I should ask permission before I show this kind of stuff, and I just keep on forgetting to ask permission. Like I said, I really need to update my website really badly. But yeah, so I would love to do Wonder Woman again. I really enjoyed it. And the most recent one, I was able to draw Daredevil.
Nice.
Because like the Marvel Voices story is where Daredevil mentors the new Iron Fist story, and I enjoyed drawing Daredevil more than I thought I would. I'm like a really big fan of the TV series. Oh God, that TV series is so good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it's like I need to watch the Netflix series again. I was trying it.
I like the She-Hulk series.
The She-Hulk, I love She-Hulk actually, even before the TV series came out. So, and I think they're really true to the character. I as a comic book fan, I have no complaints. It got meta, but that's how she's supposed to be. She's supposed to be fourth wall breaking, really weird. And when she oh no, maybe I shouldn't talk about it because spoilers. But anyway.
I think it's okay
Too
to
many things
spoil.
not to talk about.
We're all about spoiling on this.
But yeah, when she goes to like the Disney Plus, selection screen, that's like, oh, they went there, and I'm really, I was really happy about it. And yeah, I love the Tatiana Maslany. I love her actress. I loved it of her since Orphan Black too. So I thought she was a perfect. I still don't understand why her hair grows though. That doesn't happen to the Hulk. So why does She-Hulk's hair grow?
It's a
She
female
changed.
thing. It's a female thing.
That's the only like. It's like, okay. It happens in the comics too, which I never understood. Like, why would her hair grow?
Yeah. So it's obvious you're like a pop culture geek. What kinds of things were you into growing up? Like what did you read? What did you collect?
Ooh. Well, if you want to start, I'm gonna like throw out some stuff, but people might not be familiar with it because it's Japanese. Like Doraemon was probably the comic that made me fall in love with comics. I don't know if you ever read Doraemon, but read at least the first 6 volumes because the last volume, like the 6th volume, will make you cry. It made me cry, and I was like 10. I think I was like 7 or 8 years old when I read that. Doraemon, like a whole bunch of Osamu Tezuka stuff. I think his Phoenix series is like the best. So if I would, and Buddha's very good too. I like Buddha. That's a good series. Maybe a little bit too philosophical for some people, but I liked it. Who else? Tokimeki Tonight. Probably nobody heard of this comic. It's by Koi Ikeno, and it was like a long-running series. I think it's still going on now, maybe. But yeah, that was like a big influence too, but nobody knows about it in America.
Was that translated in?
It was never translated. It's called Tokimeki Tonight. It's a romantic comedy where the daughter is half vampire, half werewolf, of course.
Oh, cool.
And like, shenanigans.
Is there any chance that they've been translated to Korean?
No, I don't know. I have no idea. But it became big in the early 80s. And but there was like a failed anime. Okay. And the anime was not true to the comic, so I think it did very poorly. But it's a very long running. It has a large fan series. Like if ask any Japanese woman who grew up in the 80s and 90s, they will know this series most likely. Tokimeki Tonight.
It's like it's like a teen drama, or
it's a teen. It's absolutely 100% teen drama. Girl falls in love with boy. She has to hide the fact that she's supernatural. The rival is like the Yakuza boss's daughter.
Awesome.
There's another question from Tricky. Tricky is a local artist here that we all know in our community. Anyway, do you make backup stories then try to pitch them?
No, I'm not a writer, so mostly pitching stories would be, writers tend to do that on their part. Mostly I just kind of like send artwork to submissions editors or editors in general to show like this is my body of work, and they'll assign me a work for that stuff. I mean, eventually I would like to, I guess, write a story, but that's a skill that I have to kind of build up to.
I mean, if you're an avid reader, it seems that you would have a lot of story in your head too.
I do have a lot of stories in my head. It's like putting pen to paper is like actually, like, oddly enough, I don't like to write. All my stories in my head are like visual.
Right.
So I think Jeff Smith does this too, but he just like writes his scripts out and just like he doesn't write them down, he just draws them out. So that's probably a method I should probably do, but you can't really show that to people. Here are my thumbnails of stick figures. That's just my entire story.
Maybe because you were to write and have them fill in the script.
Maybe, yeah. That would be kind of like a backward thing to, but yeah.
Now you mentioned you use digital techniques along with when you're terms of graphic layout, you're using the digital techniques. Was that something you learned early on, or something as you entered the industry picked up?
That was actually by necessity. So I'm gonna try to condense this as much as possible. So like somewhere like right when I graduated college, School of Visual Arts, I got a gig as a background artist, and then which was great. So I was able to work with Damien Scott, who is a background artist at the time, very talented. So I was doing background art, and then all of a sudden I got shooting pains down my arm. And then it got so bad that it would be just shooting pains down my arm, even when I was doing nothing. I would just be standing.
Oh no.
My drawing arm, by the way, and they got so bad that I couldn't even hold a pencil for 10 minutes.
Oh no.
It turned out it was not my hand, but my neck that was causing the problem. So I had to go through physical therapy. But in the meantime, I could not hold a pencil to draw. But surprisingly, so I invested in a Wacom Cintiq. I finally got enough money to like spend like $2,000 on a Cintiq. And then that like was a game changer because now I could hold the pen without hurting because I don't have to put pressure. You could adjust the pressure on your digital tablet as much as you want to. So I could do it with a lighter touch, and I didn't have to like use not as much grip strength. So I actually can't do entire comics without, you know, a Wacom or a drawing tablet because like, yeah, I can't hold a pencil that long. But then, you know, with physical therapy, I got better, you know, gradually got better. It took a couple of years. In the meantime, during the time of recovery, I was doing graphic design and working as an editor at Marvel Comics. So it wasn't really like, I wasn't really doing any drawing heavy work, but I still kind of like, even if it was just like 5 or 10 minutes, I was still kind of sketching my sketchbook. But I got better. And yeah, that's I got better enough to be able to do like at least marker art and like, you know, kind of like what you see right now. So
that's awesome.
And I could do entire conventions while drawing. So that's like that was like kind of an achievement actually, to be able to go through a day and be able to draw the whole day without like, you know, like, oh, I can't anymore. Like I could physically do it now.
In the convention, do you use your Cintiq?
Oh no, I don't bring my Cintiq. It's a little bulky.
Oh, okay.
Unfortunately, I wish they'll make them lighter. That's like the only problem with the portable Cintiq tablet. But at conventions, I do traditional drawings.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Before I couldn't even do that. Like really, like even holding a pen was so hard. I saw the warning signs in college too, but it peaked. The pain got like bad, like right after I graduated. It was scary. That. It was scary, very scary at the time. Yeah, the physical therapy.
That's a huge loss for an artist if that was to continue.
Yeah.
That was. Yeah, it's like to go to art school and then like graduate and then like not be able to physically draw. That's like kind of devastating for artists.
Yeah.
But you know, I love comics, so I kind of like. I was very lucky enough to get an internship at Marvel Comics and DC Comics, but like I got a job at Marvel Comics, and basically it's just like, well, I'm graduated, and my internship is over. But can I come? Because I was told that basically, if you want to get a job in comics, you have to physically be there. So this advice won't work now, probably because like security has become like wacko since 9/11. But before, like the best advice I got was like, if you want to be in the comics industry, you just have to be around the people who are hiring, right? So that means hanging around the Marvel offices, the editorial offices. It's like, well, I'm graduating, and after this internship, I won't have the opportunity to work or like to meet people at Marvel Comics. So it's like, I'll be graduating, my internship is over, but can I come every week to just work at the copy room?
No.
Oh wow.
For free.
Wow.
So like I was working at like a crappy. I'm sorry, it's not a crappy store, but I was working in a small graphic design job. And then like once a week, my boss was very understanding. So it's like, I'm going to be working at Marvel Comics once a week for free. Can I have like one day off during the work week to work at Marvel Comics? And he kind of like knew like, oh, okay, that's sure, no problem. And So yeah, I worked in the copy room for like, every week after I graduated college. And then like as soon as you like through the grapevine, you see it's like, oh,
political strategy firm. It's a really interesting move because
Sorry about that.
oh, no problem. Okay, so yeah, so through the grapevine, I heard like, oh, this editor is looking for an assistant. It's oh. So I applied immediately and I got the job. So
I'm glad you are talking about all this, because that was the question I was going to have for you, because there's a lot of artists in the chat room right now.
mhm.
Yeah.
And one of the questions they would have is like, how do you break into the industry? So
It's tough.
I'm sure it is.
Okay, so unfortunately, the strategies and methods that I use, well, like in the early or early 2000s, probably doesn't apply as much now. Like I said, I was able to, so basically because I lived in Hawaii and opportunities were very rare in general as for artists. Like the only way to become a comic book artist if I was physically in New York, because at the time DC Comics and Marvel Comics were both in New York, So get to New York. That's the main thing. How do I get to New York? I should probably go to school in New York. I was actually attending University of Hawaii at the time. I saw like the top 100 internships books at the library that I was working at and at the time, and they said like one of the top 100 internships was Marvel. Okay, I'm gonna get a Marvel internship. How do I get a Marvel internship? I have to apply to an art school. Which art school should I go to? I should go to either School of Visual Arts or the Kubert School. School of Visual Arts because it's accredited. So I went to School of Visual, applied for it, got into School of Visual Arts, kept my grades up, got that Marvel internship, got that DC internship, made my connections through there. So I met a few people at DC, I met a few people at Marvel. By the way, my social skills for networking is very bad. I get very nervous easily. So I wish I could get better advice there. But yeah, just physically being around the people who work in the comic industry is important.
This is the best argument I ever heard about going to high school.
Yes.
making
if you want those internships, keep your grades up.
Yeah.
So I got the internships were a really, really big deal. That was a big step because I got to know a lot of people through there and got a lot of good advice. Doggedly pester them to be there physically. This strategy might not work now because they're way more strict, and now everybody works remotely. So this might not be a possibility to do that. Conventions are very important too.
Conventions, okay.
But the conventions are a little bit hard because you only meet these people once a year. One of the strategies I had
follow all their convention, maybe if they go multiple conventions.
Yeah, so like there's like after parties at a lot of these conventions. Basically, like again, I'm not good at. I don't drink. Staying up late is really hard for me to do. But basically, I kind of like made sure to like show up at least to these like after parties. Everybody's drinking, but there's always going to be a few people, even editors, who don't like the crowd, and they'll be outside of the bar either taking a smoke or just trying to like deflate from all the like all the noise. And those are times when you touch like, yeah, can't handle all that socialization. Like, yeah. By the way, so I'm an artist, like, and you kind of talk to like, can I send you stuff? And that's basically, can I send you my stuff? And it's like, yeah, sure, but you kind of do that every year. So because you need to put a face in front of, just showing them your artwork, you're just like another nameless artist. But if you actually, meet with them and you actually have like a physical face to attach to the interaction with that work, it's like, oh yeah, so-and-so, yeah, I met her, at those after parties, and like she was nice enough, let me give her stuff a chance. That's important. Unfortunately,
I just gotta interrupt you. My apologies. I gotta jump off because I have another work related issue that I have to take care of. But this conversation was great, and Nam Lan Hyung is gonna, kind of guide the rest of the interview through. But again, I look forward to more engagements with you, and thank you for joining today.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye, Boram.
Thanks, Otaku. So
okay.
So So she okay. I do have a question from Comic Journey. Do you
Sure.
create your own characters?
Uh, I have my own characters, but they're private. I have so as far as like OC characters, something like that, I kind of like do that on my own and for fun, but I haven't really I haven't really released it to the world yet because
Oh,
those are more like
none of it on Instagram.
none of it's on Instagram. Most of the stuff on Instagram are stuff that I've done for other people,
I see.
work for other people, or just generally fan art and kind of stuff like that. Um, I don't know. So maybe eventually someday I will show them, but they're sort of like in development of sorts. So I feel like I don't want to show them unrefined.
Mm.
Yeah,
I
and I
see.
do it mostly for like for my own personal fun. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Now, I didn't mean to interrupt your thoughts on the how to
the networking part.
yeah.
Yeah,
Can you
I'm
complete?
sure. Like, yeah, I'm sure a lot of artists would like love to hear about the networking part because that is the most nebulous part of the industry. Um, it's difficult, and I can't say that I'm good at it. But yeah, showing up physically in front of editors is a very difficult strategy. Not a lot of people can have the opportunity to go to conventions, much less go to conventions on a regular basis. But if you can, yeah, try to be and like thing is, editors actually kind of float around, so it's hard to actually find a regular editor. Like even going to conventions is like, yeah, unless they have a portfolio review session, which I think DC and Marvel Comics also stopped doing.
Oh,
So
really?
like, yeah, I don't know. So I'm like, more and more it's like I find I like advice like, oh, go to portfolio reviews regularly. Oh, they don't do that anymore. Like so it's hard. I have to
Mm.
admit it's getting more and more difficult. Also social media is important. I'm not good at it, as you can see my non-updated website there. And it's like easy to get lost in the noise, right?
Yeah.
So I guess if you're good with the social media thing, then yeah, make friends with all the editors who are on like the Twitters. They're usually on Twitter or Instagram, and follow them. Interact with them.
You, you think
That's like the second best thing. Yeah.
you think the global nature of the artists being, I mean, there's artists everywhere
Yeah.
and having to compete globally. You think that might be more, that might be what makes it more difficult nowadays?
Yeah, I think, well, yeah, there's just so much more, right? And like the artists there, like the talent pool is so great. Even when I was like working as an assistant editor at Marvel, and this was the part that was kind of disheartening, was like we'll get portfolio samples on a regular basis. The submissions editors will give us a small pile of all the artwork, the submissions work that we got, and a lot of them were they could do the job. Obviously, they had the talent to do the job. They could do the job, but there just wasn't enough work for all these artists.
Right.
So they'll either be filed or the stuff will be just thrown in the trash. Which, as like an aspiring artist, like, but that person was like way better than I was, and like they're not getting work, and like it would be like, oh my god, like so. Talent is like, yes, talent and skill is a requisite, of course, but that alone is not going to get you the work. You have to kind of be in a non-obnoxious way, be on the art directors and editors radar,
Right.
and the only way to do that is to like be consistent in interacting with them in a very polite manner. Don't be pushy, of course, and that's like the hard part. Well, how much is enough? It's like, I don't know. But play to your strengths. If you're good at interacting with people face to face, do that. Make sure to also talk to other people in the industry, other artists too. They'll probably have a lot of good advice. A lot of the artists at conventions are really, really nice, and they're willing to share advice and even bring your portfolio too. Even if it's like horrible, you think it's horrible, show it to the artists, and they might give you a nugget of advice that would be probably helpful. If they give you horrible advice, please do not be disheartened. Just because they're a good artist doesn't make them a good critic either. So
Okay, these are awesome advices. You guys hear that, artists in the chat room? I hope we have a whole bunch of artists in the chat room, so
I'm trying to like spitball all the career advice I could think of. Also, ergonomics is very important. Ergonomics is very important. Get a good chair and stretch every 20 minutes.
get a good physical therapist.
Yes, don't end up like me where you like can't hold a pencil for like a couple of years.
That would have been devastating. I imagine.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I guess it's like almost as bad as a losing sight.
Oh God, that would be frightening, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Right. I mean, my eyes are getting horrible right now. So
Mm.
when I draw, I have to have reference.
Oh no, I have to use reference all the time. Yeah, that's not using reference. There's no shame in using reference.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with the artist that passed away last year, Kim Jung Gi.
Yeah, but he's a savant. So he's like his brain was built differently, I believe. Because like so sorry, let me drink some more. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with the condition called aphantasia. So basically it's a condition where you cannot visualize in your head. So most people say, oh, visualize an apple, and you could see an apple in your head. Is it a red color? Change it to a green apple. You could change the color in your head. Some people cannot do that, and that's called aphantasia. But they still can draw because they could still be wonderful artists. They need to use reference, but they could still draw perfectly. I think on the other side of the spectrum, where people who cannot visualize stuff, there are people who could see things in 3D and could just visualize things so clearly and so well that they don't even need to figure anything out. And I think that's what Kim Jung Gi is. He's like on the other side of the spectrum where he could like visualize things so easily that he could just whatever he put into his mind, he could put onto paper. But most people aren't like that.
Right.
Most people are sort of in the middle where they kind of have a nebulous idea in their head and they have to draw it out.
So you're saying no matter how much you exercise, I mean, you practice and exercise to get to Kim Jung Gi level is unlikely.
It's not so much unlikely. It's just some people are just built differently.
Yeah.
You can't, like even a basketball player, just because you're like, less than 6 feet doesn't mean you can't dunk.
Right.
But of course, the people who are 7 feet tall are going to be able to dunk easier. Some people are just built differently. You just have to kind of compensate differently for that. But just watching him draw is like, oh, I mean, he just puts things like, just like most people need to do a draft. And there's always a handful of people who just put, pen to paper. I think Joe Kubert was like that too. He didn't need to. There's like a video out there on YouTube where John Romita Sr. and Joe Kubert are drawing on the same page. And, these are both comic veterans that right? But, Joe Kubert is just like, he's just drawing Hawkman immediately. And you see John Romita Sr. talking, saying like, oh, you're just getting it right in there, huh? Like, oh, no, I have to like draw. And John Romita Sr. is doing like, building up the figure using the circles and stuff like that. And he's doing it more like what I would do. And that made me feel so relieved when I saw John Romita Sr. doing that. It's like, yeah, like, some people just draw differently. And that doesn't make you less of, because, both of them are legends.
Yeah. I could see Joe Kubert doing those just out of, I could see him just putting something out really quick.
Joe Kubert, I don't think he did drafts. He just he just drew.
Because of the type of art that he generates. It feels like he just generated it.
And some artists you just really shouldn't try to emulate because if your brain doesn't work the same way as their brain, it's probably not if you're like you say, if you're like under 6 feet tall, you can't learn how to dunk basketball like a 7-foot person would, right? So it's like you have to kind of develop different strategies, and that doesn't make you less of a better artist. because you don't draw exactly the same way as Kim Jung Gi, you know.
Brendan asked, has she gone to a convention on the outer islands, Maui and the Big Island?
No, I have not gone. I heard there was a pretty good convention in Maui. Yeah, it's just like the timing usually doesn't add up, you know, line up. It's like so rarely that I get an opportunity to go to the West Coast.
Man.
You know, yeah.
What is your favorite DC character to draw?
Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman. She already said her favorite character was Wonder Woman. Okay. The TM Nerdy, he runs a with the not artist Roscoe. He runs a channel called Between the Lines, and he invites guests over and they interview things like that while you're drawing. Then you come out with the theme, and so he has very engaging channel where you know you get to interview the person while you're drawing. You know, the artist is in natural form. You know, so.
Yeah. Hi, TM Nerdy.
All right. Well, my boy is trying to be artist, so that's why I'm asking all these questions as a parent. My boy trying to be artist. He wanted to break into animation, but
animation is a whole different industry, which I have like a friend in it, and from what she tells me, it's like pretty crazy. So, yeah.
One of the things that he's running into is that he's having problem competing with the people globally.
Yeah.
He's not just competing within the local area. He's competing globally with all the raw talents out there.
Well, from what I understand, the animation is so broad. Like there's so many different jobs, and animation is not just key artists. There's viz dev. There's like a whole bunch of like all the jobs are like, you know, divided into different, you know, departments, and some are more in demand than others. So I think, and I could be wrong because I'm not an animator, I think storyboarding is actually in demand. So if you can draw fast and be able to, you know, do sequential work, that is actually.
But your sequential work doesn't look. Your sequential work doesn't look done fast.
No, I'm not. But that's why I'm not a storyboard artist, you know. But I know that like for storyboards, being quick and being able to show sequential images clearly is like a big asset. But you know, even like in the last 10, 20 years, the animation industry seems to have changed a lot in how they produce stuff, and there has been a lot of controversy. And like I'm not in that industry, so I can't really say. But yeah, I think. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what would be like the best way to break into animation, but I know like there's different types of job in animation, and depending on what you think your wheelhouse is, if you like to do character designs, you should focus on character designs. If you want to do visual development, which is like, you know, environments and all that kind of stuff, you should concentrate your portfolio on those kind of things because it is specialized. Yeah, animation is very specialized in each job. So.
Right. Wow. Okay.
And there's also key animators and all that kind of stuff too. So of course, yeah.
What is it? What's your least favorite drawing?
Least favorite. Things I don't like to draw is overly complicated video game characters with like a lot of stuff going on with their clothes, because like those were not meant to be drawn. And when somebody asked me to do like a commission work with like, can you do this character, and they showed me pictures and like see all these kind of things, I'm like, oh god, I don't want to draw all that stuff. All that bling and stuff like that. That's when if the character's simple design's better.
It seems like a lot of those are fake items. They're not. They don't exist in the
they're just flourish.
Yeah.
Those things, and also robots. I do not like to draw robots as much, so I usually
because you have to fake it, right? Basically.
Yeah. So no Gundam, no Transformers, and no kaiju. I'm not that good. Well, no, I mean I wouldn't mind drawing Godzilla.
Godzilla, you could fake it. It's naturally faked. I mean,
Yeah. I like the chubby Godzilla.
uh, they say I can draw fast. Uh, I try to draw a gun. The guy
Hmm.
shooting a gun in front of you,
Hmm.
and I can't draw it. I'm looking at the references, and I can't draw it without understanding the the physical shape of that gun. So I'm
Well,
trying to
you
find the
could.
broken pieces.
So what I did was I actually got a fake rubber gun.
Okay.
So you could actually, I don't know if they ship it to Hawaii, but there are like fake rubber guns that you get, and you could get them like so obviously like not a real gun. I got mine in hot pink, so that nobody will mistake it as a real gun.
Oh, I
But
see.
it's the same shape, it's the same size, and the same weight
Mm.
as a real gun. So it was like $9 on
It has all
Amazon.
the moving parts too, or
It doesn't have the moving parts, but it has all the
the
physical,
whole.
like the notches and everything like that. And they
Yeah.
have revolvers and they have like handguns. They even have different types of knives. So if you want to get like reference, if you're the type of person who needs reference that's physical, yeah,
Mhm.
go on Amazon. They have a whole bunch of props, or sometimes they call it trading guns or something like that, trading weapons, which are made out of hard rubber.
Mhm.
So you could like get those, and like they're not that expensive. I think the only problem is like some places, like when I tried to order my rubber pink gun for reference, they wouldn't ship it to New York, so I had to ask my friend in New Jersey. So I had to send it to my friend in New Jersey and had to give it to me. So that was like the only problem. But yeah, like fake, get a fake gun for reference.
Okay,
And like
that's a
yeah,
good one.
that's really helpful. Sometimes you just need that weird angle, right?
Right,
So
right. I mean, I'm looking at it in front, and so like a gun barrel's uh, gun
mhm.
barrel's bigger than the bullets. I didn't realize I'm looking in the front, so your perspective is you got.
Yeah.
So I go how much of that is where's this turning and all that.
You could
I have to
you could
understand
also
it before I
yeah.
can draw that.
You can
So
also go to like 3D places like 3D program places like Sketchfab
uh-huh.
or yeah, I love Sketchfab because they'll have like assets, 3D assets. And if you just need to see something in 3D, like one time my friend needed to see he needed to draw a wolf, but from the butt end of the side. And he's like, what do wolf butts look like? And it's like, just go to Sketchfab. There's like usually a 3D animation of a wolf who's walking. And you could turn it around and you can see the butt end of a wolf walking. Same thing with guns. You'll find like 3D assets of guns shooting, and it'll be animated so you can see the chamber moving. You can see, oh, that's how a gun shoots, and
Ah,
stuff like that. So Sketchfab is also a great
okay,
reference if it's just
cool.
to like see how things work and look at different angles of stuff. So
Brendan asked some question here. Did L Hawaiian barbecue the East Coast? What's this?
not understanding your question, but I don't hate me any Hawaii people. I don't eat at LNL as much.
I don't know what that means. I don't know what that
Yeah.
means.
Oh, so I have to go soon.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
What's your website is? Her website is LynneYoshii.com.
Yes.
LYNNEY. Let me type it in here. LynneYoshii.com. Yeah, let's wrap this up. I really appreciate this. A lot of good information, and I hope the chat room got to enjoy this. Thanks, chat room, for showing up. I didn't get to all of you guys, so uh, yeah, appreciate this. And Lynn, hold this one. Lynn, I appreciate you. Stay with me for a little bit, and I'm just going to end the broadcast. Anyway, till next time, guys. We're out. Bye bye.
Bye.